Today we talk about how to not sign your life away, or at least know what you're getting yourself into before you accept your EIDL loan terms. Am I just signing my life away? Is this a conspiracy against my business? Is this how it's going to end? These are all questions you might be asking yourself if you've been approved for the EIDL loan. Stay tuned for more. So one of the most frequently asked questions I keep getting is, what can I use the proceeds of my EIDL loan on? Well, today we're going to answer that question and many more things that you didn't know about your loan agreement that you're going to sign off on, or you might have already signed off on. The SBA has these loans in place for a long time. So some of the things that are in there are just don't make sense for what we are facing right now, but we're going to explain what those are. Okay, so the first thing I want to tackle is payments. Your payments will not start for 12 months. After the 12th month is when you're going to start making payments. Now, the term of the loan is for 30 years. The 30 years doesn't start after the 12 months. It starts immediately the day that you sign your promissory note. So that means you only have 29 years left to pay off your loan. But I did the math, and the math didn't really add up. You see, my payments should have been higher, but they were actually a lot lower on a monthly basis. And the reason why is because I reread the note again, and what it states is that the principal and interest that still remains has to be paid basically in one lump sum. So you'll have about 348 payments, and then whatever is left over at that point in time, you'll have to pay off in one lump sum. That's something I didn't realize, hey, but it's there. Now let's move on to the next. Okay, so the good news is that you'll only be paying interest on the money that has been dispersed to you. So if you were approved for $150,000 and they only dispersed to you $50,000, you'll only be paying interest on the amount that you've been using. And the other thing about it is that it's being treated as a mortgage. So with the mortgage, the interest gets paid first, and then more principal gets paid later on. It's simple amortization. If you don't understand this, I'll leave a link down below in the description section where you can have access to an amortization schedule. So you might have gotten a 3.75 interest rate, and some people may have gotten a 2.75 interest rate. So from the information I've been looking up, the reason why some people get lower interest rates is because they might have filled out their information as a nonprofit organization. Just because you didn't make money last year doesn't qualify you for being a nonprofit. You have to be either a church, a charity. If you don't know what that is, talk to your accountant. He'll explain to you what classification you truly are. And keep in mind, you still have to make payments even if all the money has not been dispersed to you. If only half the money has been dispersed to you, you still have to make payments. You don't wait until all the money is dispersed to start your payments. You're going to get yourself in trouble that way. So now let's talk collateral. What is it that you have to give them in order to secure this loan? Well, you didn't really have to prove that you had anything. We just have to self-certify. But now that we're signing our loan docs, what it states in there is that any loan after $25,000 has to be secured by your business assets and your personal assets without limitation. And they can be tangible or intangible. So what this means is that anything that's physical or anything that's intellectual property or things you can't see, they hold value. All of those things can be securing the loan that you're taking out with SBA. Now, I don't know if there's going to be a large percentage of people who are going to end up defaulting on our SBA loans. We don't know the future, but in the event that any of those people do, or you find yourself in a position where you can't make payments, they can come after you for your personal assets as well. So be very careful and mindful of that before you accept this loan. You also can't sell any of your property or any of the business assets without first checking with the SBA. You have to get their permission to sell anything that holds any type of value, such as equipment, or such as your home, or such as maybe the property where your business is located if you own it. Now, you don't have to worry about if you're selling goods such as like merchandise, or if that's commonplace. You don't have to check with them every time you sell something like that, but you do have to check with them when you do sell something that's being used to secure the loan. Another thing you can't do is take out another loan that is going to take their place. So as of right now, they're in first place. They want to make sure that there is no other loan you're taking out that's going to put them in a subordinate position. And if you do decide to take out another loan, you just have to let them know about it. We're going to get into whether a PPP loan is a conflict. We're going to answer that in just a second, so stay tuned for that. But first, let's tackle some more of this. If it's not too much to ask, please give this video a like so more people such as yourself can have access to this information. The way YouTube works is that if it gets a lot of likes, it will be shared to more people who are looking for this info. So if you find what I'm saying helpful, please make sure, give us a like. Another thing I forgot to mention was that you're not just gonna put up stuff you own today, you also have to securitize this loan with stuff that you're going to own in the future. So for instance, if your business did really well and you purchased a property, that property can also be held as collateral even though you didn't own it at the time of taking out the loan. So now we're going to talk about what can we use this loan for. We're going to dive really deep, so make sure you pay attention and take notes. So first, we have to understand that this loan is for working capital. So working capital is defined as the money that your business needs to operate its day-to-day business operations, minus any expenses or any liabilities that the company may have. So now let's talk about what the SBA has stated that we can use the money for. Yes.
Now, for the loan,
yes,
that's for any business expenses, anything that has to do with the business.
Would I be able to still apply for the PPP loan if I receive the EIDL loan?
Yes.
Okay, so if my advance is given to me first and then I get a PPP loan, the advance will be deducted from the PPP loan.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, the only thing that you cannot do is you cannot use the loan funds to purchase fixed assets.
I'm not allowed to use it to purchase fixed assets. I was told by your tier 1.
That is correct.
Okay, what is considered a fixed asset? Would that be like a house or would that be like a car?
All of the above.
Oh, so a car for the purpose of your business cannot be purchased. A property for the purchase of your business, even if your business is, let's say, real estate investing, cannot be purchased? Okay.
No, sir.
Okay.
You
Okay.
cannot no,
Good
sir.
to know. Good to know.
You can use it for operational expenses.
Yeah.
You can use it for payroll and operational expenses. But as far as acquisitions and purchasing fixed assets, no, sir.
Got it. Got it.
It's
Okay.
not for the expansion of your business. It's to help you with the losses as a result of the economic losses as a result of the pandemic.
All right. 100% understood. Working capital loans may be used to pay fixed debts, payroll, accounts payable, and other bills that could have been paid had the disaster not occurred. The loans are not intended to replace lost sales or profits or for expansion. Funds cannot be used to pay down long-term debt. Now, what is long-term debt? You can't prepay your mortgage down. You can't do anything that's a long installment loan. You can't pay that down. What you can do is you should be able to pay down your credit cards, which is a question a lot of people have asked me, especially one viewer in particular who asked me, can I pay down debts that I've accumulated on my credit cards since the disaster because I didn't have the funds to pay for it? Now, after I read this, it sounds to me like, yes, you could, because credit cards are not long-term debt. Can I use the proceeds to pay off those credit cards for the expenses that I incurred? Sure.
So if that's cards used strictly for business, that would be covered.
With the EIDL loan, can I use the money to pay off credit cards related to the business?
Yes.
Okay, good. It's revolving debt, so you should be able to pay that down, especially because you use that for working capital or working purposes to keep your business afloat. So yes, the answer to that, according to them, according to all the research I'm doing, is yes, you should be able to use it on your credit cards. Now let's talk about the things you can't use it on. So these are the things you can't use the money for. They're called the limit of distributions of assets. You can't use that money for loans, gifts, bonuses to yourself or to anyone else who's an officer in your company. You can use it for payroll, and if payroll consists of giving people bonuses, then yes, you can use it for that, but you cannot use it to give yourself a bonus, yourself a raise, yourself any type of money that you normally wouldn't have gotten. You can pay yourself salary, that's something that's considered to be working capital, but you cannot give yourself a huge loan, and you cannot give a loan to another company that you own as well. So make sure you don't use it for those purposes, because that would definitely constitute a violation of the loan agreement. Okay, so now let's talk about receipts and bookkeeping. You have to make sure that you keep copies of all your receipts, canceled checks, invoices, and contracts for 3 years after you received your final disbursement. If you got all the money upfront lump sum, then you have to keep all the records for 3 years after that time frame. Now, you may have to show them these receipts not only when they request it, but if you were to request more advances. So for instance, if you were getting draws and you didn't get all the money in one lump sum, if you were requesting your next tranche of money, or if you're requesting your next draw, you would then also have to show them all the receipts and all the money you spent with the previous money. So make sure you keep good records of that, because if you're missing money, they may not only not give you more money, they may also call the loan due. So be very careful with that. Also, if you find yourself that the money they've given you is not enough to carry on your business, you have to make sure that you ask them for more money within the first 2 years of getting the loan. Okay, so one of the things that I covered in my last video that I'm going to shed a little bit more light on in this video is American-made products, that you're supposed to purchase American-made stuff with the proceeds of this loan. Now, if you're a company that does all your business here domestically and you get all your stuff domestically, it's no issue. But if you're a company that imports all of their products, and getting products from inside the United States would bankrupt your company or your business, you have to make sure that the SBA understands this, because if you provide invoices and receipts later on, once the money's all spent, they have an argument to say that you violated the terms of the agreement, and you can be responsible for not only paying back the loan, but also paying back penalties, and you don't want to be responsible for that. Purchasing products that are made in America would put your business in jeopardy. Could you continue to then purchase products overseas?
If you have operating expenses such as having to pay for gas, having to pay for salaries, having to pay for any of those type of things, it may be a stronger option for you to use those funds for those things, your operating expenses, and use any other funds you have for acquisitions and purchases outside of the country.
Okay.
It's much cleaner and much easier, and it keeps you from having any issues later on down the road.
I get it. So here's another question we get all the time. Do you still qualify for the PPP loan even though you were approved for the EIDL loan? And the answer to that is not as simple as you may think. The correct answer is yes, you can. You can apply for both. Doesn't mean you're going to get both, but you can definitely apply for both. What the SBA states in their loan agreement is that if you do get money from other sources, first of all, you would have to disclose that to them. And then it's their judgment whether you need to take the money and repay this loan with it, which may not be all that bad because their loan terms are actually much better than 3.75%. We're just going to have to wait and see. But the money that they're talking about, and this is why I spoke to you earlier about this is a loan agreement that I feel that they've been using for years, and they kind of just slapped it together so they can use it for the EIDL loan. What it states in here is that if you get compensation from an insurance company or from a lawsuit or from anywhere else, you have to use that money to pay down or pay off your SBA loan, your EIDL loan. So with the PPP loan, even though that money is sure to come in if you've applied and you qualify, question is, do you have to use that money to pay down your EIDL loan? I'll have a call into the SBA. I'm going to answer that in just a second. You can receive the PPP loan even if you've received the EIDL loan, correct?
Can have them both as long as you don't use them both for the same reason. So if the Paycheck Protection Program is paying for a specific employee's salaries for the 8-week period, you cannot use EIDL for that same employee for that same period of time.
Got it.
You can use it for after that period of time or before that period of time, but not during that same period of time. And you need to be able to show that in your records.
So the next question we get a lot. Do I have to keep hazard insurance in order to make sure I don't default on my loan? And the answer to that is yes, if you're putting up collateral that requires to have hazard insurance, such as a building, a property, that does require hazard insurance. And if you have machinery, that also requires hazard insurance, then you do have to keep a certain amount of insurance on those things. If you don't have any tangible assets that anyone can get hurt at, then you don't have to keep hazard insurance. If your business is all, let's say, remote and you do consulting over the phone, you don't have to have hazard insurance for that. You might have to have errors of omission insurance for it, but that's part of your operations expenses anyway. Hazard insurance. If your business does not have any tangible property or machinery that requires hazard insurance, is that fine to not have hazard insurance?
So there was one key part that I think that is important. For all items used to secure this loan,
yes.
Are you securing this loan with any fixed assets?
No, I claimed I didn't have any fixed assets when I made the loan.
Then you don't need hazard insurance.
Okay.
Because it's asking you to make sure that you have hazard insurance on the items that you're using to secure the loan.
So this is where it gets really crazy. If you don't make your payments, you default, or if they find that you're misappropriating this money, you could be on the hook for not your loan amount, but for 1.5 times of your loan amount. So if you took a loan of 100 grand and they find that you misused that money, you might have to pay back $150,000. So be very careful if you decide to take this money. If you really don't need the money and you were just going to keep it for a rainy day and you think it might become a burden, then just give that money back. There's no prepayment penalty whatsoever. It may just be the best solution for you. So how can you default? That's a great question. This is what I gathered from their loan agreement. These are terms for default. If you miss a payment, if you sell collateral, if you default with other creditors, if you file bankruptcy, if you have an adverse change in your financial conditions, if you die. I don't know if they could blame you for dying or come after you, but if you die, loan's terminated. Change of ownership, so you can't sell your business because then you would have to pay that money back, or civil or criminal action. So that makes sense, obviously. There's some things in it that make sense, but some things in it are kind of scary. So for instance, if you have a financial hardship down the road that's even worse than what you have now, you have to pay that money back. That makes no sense whatsoever. So be very careful with these loans. The reason why I tell you to be extra careful is because loans that are backed by the government, they don't tend to just disappear. Such as student loans, they don't just go away. Landscapers are back. So one thing you have to remember, if you sell any collateral, such as equipment, if you sell cameras, if you sell anything that your business had as collateral, you may be in default. So be very careful of what you do with your business. Also, if you change addresses, you have to let them know that your business has moved to a different location. If you move to the other side of town, or if you're now a home-based business because of what's going on, you have to make sure that you let them know, because that could also be considered as default.
So once you've actually relocated, then you can just contact us and let us know that you have changed you have moved and changed your address. And you can send that to disaster customer service at sba.gov.
We did it. We got our answers. So now we're off to the races. If you got a lot of value out of this video, please consider subscribing to the channel, hit that notification bell, and like always, we thank you for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. We're in the process of creating the largest real estate group across all 50 states. If you're in real estate sales or you want to get into real estate sales, and why not? This is a perfect time to do it. I'd love to chat with you. So I'm going to leave a link down below in the description section where you can get in touch with me and we can have a one-on-one chat.